call is now being recorded.
Okay, Mike, so now we're official, and I wanted to ask you about this tour and touring behind the new album. So do you feel like the songs are like road tested at this point?
Oh, yeah. God, it's been a long tour. We just got back from, Australia. We did South America, States, Canada. We just did Australia, Singapore, Japan, and had a little time off. So we're just gearing up now with the new stage set here in Tulsa. A couple days rehearsals, and then up and running. Yeah, stage tour, and then I think we're off second on the bill doing all stadiums in Europe with Metallica. So, it's just it's just a crazy being shot out of a cannon kind of time for the band right now. But the new songs are. You ask about the new songs. We're playing them, different ones every night, and they seem to be fitting in with the old stuff in the set. I think that's sometimes our biggest source of band stress is figuring out what songs we're going to play every night. We got such a long career, blessedly, have a long career to select from, So, we try to fit in as many as we can, but we like playing the new stuff for sure.
And it's interesting that you've been together for so long, but this is only, I guess, your fifth studio album. So does that make you feel like sort of a younger band, like musically speaking, because you haven't put out, as many, your albums have been a little bit sporadic at times, obviously.
Right. Well, we approach it as a new band. We try to keep it fresh, and when we start thinking too much along these kind of lines and reflecting in the past too much, we try to just kind of stay in the moment more these days. At the end of the day, this is what I always say: we're just four guys making a racket in a room. We're not curing cancer with our songs. I wish we were, but we're not. It's just getting together with our friends and making music in a room, whether it's a small room or a big, from small rehearsal rooms to big stadiums. It's just we can't forget that simple thing is we're just four guys making some racket, and then it makes everything go a lot easier in our brains.
Right.
Does that make any sense?
Sure. And you've had, obviously a lot of different chapters for the band, and you've played with other people. So I'm curious, how do you define what is Alice in Chains to you? It's you and Jerry are kind of the constants, but was one of the keys lately finding the right lead singer, or what sort of makes up the band when you think of Alice in Chains? The sound, what is it?
Oh God, that's a great question. It's for us. It's just it's definitely a family with Alice in Chains. All the bands I've jammed with have kind of had that thing about them, whether it's an Aussie band or playing with Aunt and Nancy Wilson. I think that's the key to the longevity of it is, we're actually families and friends first, and all our families know each other, and it's a shared mission. It's not. We don't go into this lightly. We really means the world to us still. After God, I've been with Jerry and Sean 22 years, I think now at this point or something, and just a real family kind of organization. Getting Will was a blessing, unfortunately Lane's story and everything, and we took some time off there, so it's nice to be a functioning rock band in this day and age, and it's kind of like rarefied air. There's so many bands out there that great quality musicians, that are having a hard time making a career out of it in this modern time. It used to be we'd make money off the records, and now it's flipped around where it's the touring is where it's more central. So it's even more important now that we could travel around the world as a family and still get along with each other. I think that's such a key to these rock bands nowadays. And the chapters, it's almost like you can't control that stuff. You just kind of surf it, kind of whatever comes, and scheduling, and you go with it, and just day at a time, and then you look back on a 25-year career all of a sudden, and
right, yeah.
we don't take a single breath for granted. Every breath is a blessing for us, and it's a quality problem to have to say, okay, we can't tour for a while because we're too tired because we've been touring for 2 years, you know.
Right.
It's just amazing that we can still stay on the road and, you know, come to places like Atlantic City or Istanbul, Turkey, or Buenos Aires, or Perth, Australia, or Singapore. You know, it's just amazing to us that we get off these planes and, you know, a lot of our existence out here is just trying to, you know, get sleep on something that's moving really fast, and then you wake up and you're in some crazy fast town somewhere, you know. So it's certainly nice to be back in the United States. We did South America, and then, like I was saying, Australia, Singapore, and Japan. So it's kind of nice to be home, and we're actually getting back on tour buses in a couple of days here. So it's kind of nice to have just be in our own microcosm and cruising around on the bus, you know.
And so, in terms of, you know, your sound and the band and what shaped it, I mean, I guess a lot of times people talk about you as sort of being a metal band, but you came out of Seattle during the grunge time. So, you know, did grunge influence you a bit, or you feel more like metal is kind of where the band sort of traces its sort of sound to?
Well, we all have a lot of influences. I don't really have any sort of music that I dislike. You know, I like all kinds of music, whether it's country or, you know, my dad listens to a lot of jazz, and I just grew up in a real musical family, and you know, God, it's just it's the grunge thing is kind of weird. It wasn't a tag that like the bands put on themselves. You know, I mean, the thing I think about Seattle that was really magical, and even like you know, jamming up there with Anna and Nancy Wilson from Heart, they were from Seattle too. So I'm really Seattle based, you know, spiritually. But the thing is that the Pacific Northwest, we're tucked up in a corner there of the country. So these bands were bands for a long time before they actually, like Soundgarden, for instance, was a band for 10 years before they got a major label deal. So it wasn't like this cookie cutter LA kind of mentality where you just put bands together and market it and put it out there, you know, before these bands really defined like their sound, you know. You know, so these bands had time to marinate and kind of it's a slow percolation up there, you know. And then of course when everything took off, it was just it was survival mode, you know. We were all just shot out of rockets, and it was just you know, crazy, and that's why we have such a good relationship with those bands still. Is we've had a shared experience with all of us going through it kind of at the same time, and you know, it was just a mind blower for sure.
Right.
That's the only way I could put it. Is just all of a sudden, you know, we're on the covers of these magazines, and they're selling flannels for $500 in New York. It was like, whoa, what the hell is going on in the world, you know?
Right. Sure. And you mentioned working with Ann and Nancy Wilson. So is that something you've done more recently, or was that back in the day that you worked with them? Oh
God, I was playing with them from 2000. We took a break with Alice, so I was with them from 2002 to 2006 when we got the band back together. So I did a good, you know, 4 or 5 years with Ann and Nancy, and they're just really beautiful people. We played in Atlantic City a lot with Heart, you know.
Oh, right, and, sure.
I get a lot of my New York friends get to come down and hang out at the, you know, these different casinos, and I always had a good time in Atlantic City.
Right.
It's definitely not many layers to that onion skin, you know, there. It's pretty funny. Once you leave the casino, the casino, it's a whole different world on the other side of the door.
Yeah, it's a very real place, that's for sure. Yep.
I love it. I like the real place.
Yeah. And so working with Ann and Nancy, was that interesting musically for you? Kind of a different style, you know, even though there's obviously a rock element to them as well.
Oh, it was great. I think I learned more from that one act than probably any other act, you know. I mean, it's just as far as, you know, you jam something. I'll look over at Nancy Wilson's fingers, and they look like they're tied up in knots. It's like, what the hell kind of chord is she playing over there? You know, it's really talented, and they're amazing. Like we did this one tour in England where we're all on the same bus, and it's like they start their day by kind of like doing their makeup and warming up for the show. They'll sing a lot of like Lucinda Williams and Emmylou Harris, you know, country kind of stuff, and they'll start like at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. and then we'll do the sound check, then we'll play the gig, and then we'll get on the tour bus, and then they will sit there and play music, just singing and harmonizing with themselves until 6 in the morning. It was just an amazing process to watch. That's the difference between true gypsies and true music people. I just really got to absorb so much vibe from those two girls. It's just an amazing learning experience for me. Coming from, say, just being thrown as a 23-year-old kid, being thrown into playing stadiums with Ozzy Osbourne, playing Crazy Train and I Don't Know, and Black Sabbath songs, and Alice in Chains and the grunge thing, and then to morph into cool mandolin-y kind of stuff too, and just getting really stretched musically. I just learned so much. I'm in debt to them forever for that. We still remain great friends, and just to see all their kids grow up and being a hand in that. Me and my wife kind of adopted all the kids, and we've just got absorbed into the Wilson Collective.
Right.
Just blessed. It's the one word I could use for my whole career up to this point.
Right. And you mentioned Ozzy, and of course I have to ask, you were so young when that happened, and to be thrown into that. Did he live up to the legend? Was it just like a crazy world to be sort of thrust into?
Oh yeah, God! I was playing gigs with my band in LA at the time, and a guy came to a rehearsal studio and said, "Hey, Ozzy's having rehearsals for bass players around the corner." So, I went over there in a hockey jersey and some tennis shoes and ripped up jeans, and I just wanted to play Crazy Train and I Don't Know with the guy one time, and just to say, "Hey, I jammed with Ozzy one time," just such a legend.
Right.
And Randy Rhoads was also my favorite guitar player. And so, yeah, I went down there and got the gig, and it was a process of about 2 weeks, and then they told me I had the gig, and then 10 days later I'm living in a castle in Southern Ireland with Ozzy, and that was a time when the band, we all lived together with Ozzy, in these places, so it was just, once again, just absorbed into this cool collective, and the road crew guys were all these old learned English road dogs, so it got to be just a good experience for me to get out, and and it's just such a change of pace. I think the gig before I played with Ozzy, I played in front of 20 people at this old club called the Coconut Teaser in Hollywood, and then the next gig I did, we did 2 warm-up gigs with Ozzy in Dublin at this punk club called the McGonagalls, and then it was Wembley, so that was really a sink or swim kind of thing, and still to this day I have a great relationship with the Osbournes, just amazing. I'll always be in debt for him for, taking me around the world and showing me things I never, ever would have saw before. And then from that, Alice in Chains opened up for us, years later, and then that's how I met those guys. And then next thing you know, I'm moving up to Seattle, and then grunge hit, and it was like, wow, crazy,
Yeah, right here you are.
So,
yeah. So before we go, I just wanted to sort of chat a little bit about where you see Alice in Chains going. I guess you sort of did that album a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and now you have the new album from last year. So it seems like you're kind of back into a bit of a rhythm with, recording every few years.
Oh, I think I lost it. Oh, there you are. I lost you for a second.
Oh, did you hear my question?
That question, Rob? Oh, no, I didn't. Sorry about that.
Sure, not a problem. No, I was before we leave today. I wanted to just talk a little bit about the future of the band, and I was saying that you recorded a couple albums now over the past 4 years, 5 years, and it seems like you're kind of back into a bit of a rhythm in terms of recording. And is that the plan, to sort of keep making some new music every few years and keep going, or what's the thinking?
Yeah, we had a big management meeting, and there's all these people in the offices that have these grand plans and schemes, but we're kind of learned old school at this point. We kind of know that every plan we've ever made out it never turns out the way you plan it anyways. So we're trying not to put that much stress, and I think once again it comes back to, okay, it's just us 4 guys making some racket in a room. So we try to keep our heads together, keep it nice and reality based. It's right. Funny, even with tour dates and stuff, these people at the offices and these towers, they send you emails with just this crazy scheduling. You go, I got to live that life that you just wrote for me on that piece of paper, So, we're really good at saying, we're really careful on what we say yes to at this time in this day and age, So, there's been talk of new music now, and, we all got our Pro Tools rigs out here on the road, so everybody's writing, I know that. So whether it gets released or not, that's a whole other thing, And, it's a long process between picking up a guitar and plugging it in and having a couple chords to a whole worldwide marketing scheme and what goes behind that. That's when it gets really overwhelming for us. So, thank God we have that friendship with each other to kind of keep each other in check. And this is something we really want to do, and let's realistically look at these plans that people make for us, So, yeah, hopefully we'll have some music pretty soon, though. It's just a question of when do you actually, book the studio time and get in there. And, me and Jerry are living in Los Angeles now. Sean's up in Seattle, and William, our singer, is living in Atlanta. So, William's got a child, and I got a wife, and it's just like everybody needs family time coming up here pretty soon. So we definitely need a break before we, go into a studio situation, which is kind of an unnatural place to live in. You go in there, you don't see the sun for months at a time, and the hours are just long, and it's a lot that goes into making these records. So hopefully we can make one out pretty soon.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's everything on my list of questions for today. So thanks for calling in from Tulsa. I appreciate it, and hope the rest of the tour goes well.
Okay, awesome. Don't work too hard for him now.
All right. Take it easy.
Yeah. Okay. See ya.
Bye.